Hey folks, Nick here from Another BookTube channel, and today I'll be talking about Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I read this as part of my back-to-school reading project, where I am revisiting the books that I was supposed to read in high school, but did not. Or I did read them, but I never really gave them a fair chance because I was a moody teenager that couldn't be bothered. This is one of those that I definitely didn't even attempt to read. I went straight to the Spark Notes. So the only thing that I had remembered about it were vague recollections of a character named Heathcliff, multiple characters named Catherine, multiple instances where multiple characters have the same name, which I thought was very silly and confusing at the time, and frequent trips to the moors. They love to walk around the moors. They're always talking about the moors. So that was that. That was all that I had. And I have previously for this project read Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, which was another one that I didn't bother reading at all. And I was really, really surprised that I enjoyed that book so much. And in fact, I think I gave it like a 7 out of 10 in that initial video. I think I would probably even raise that to an 8 out of 10 now. Now that I've like sat with it for a little while, I really did enjoy that book. So I had sort of high hopes for Wuthering Heights, and unfortunately, that just was not the case, and I did not enjoy this book, and I have to admit, I did not finish it and will not be finishing it. So Wuthering Heights is the story of the worst, most miserable people ever. Heathcliff and Catherine Earnshaw, who Catherine grew up in a wealthy family. They had this estate, Wuthering Heights, and her father took in Heathcliff as a baby. He was like, I don't know. I don't remember his full backstory, but I think he was orphaned, and the father just brought him home with him. And like, he's one of us now. The rest of the family hated Heathcliff, but Catherine really took to him, and they were childhood best friends. There were bad influences on each other. And this is just the story of them growing up, not knowing how to have a normal conversation about their feelings at all, not knowing how to admit that they're in love with each other, and because of that, just burning the lives of everyone else around them, just making everyone as miserable as possible. And that is ultimately why I do not want to finish this book. That's why I could not finish it, because I don't mind characters that are mean, as long as they're interesting. And as long as they're being mean for, I don't know, like interesting reasons or real reasons at all. These are just the most spiteful, selfish people. Like, Heathcliff is horrible. I know that this is a capital R romance book, but I also think some people consider it a romance book, like a romantic book. And it's not. He's one of the worst men ever. He's so incredibly toxic. He refuses to just talk about his feelings. He marries another woman, another character who has a crush on him just to spite Catherine and the brother of his now bride. And as soon as they're married, he treats her like absolute garbage. And like, her life is a living hell, and she does nothing but cry and try to escape, and he like doesn't let her. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And Catherine is like the most trifling person. She's like, there's one scene where she tells her maid, like, send my husband up here. I'm gonna have a fit in front of him, but like, between you and me, it's not a real fit, but I'm gonna have one anyway. I want him to be worried. And like, that's crazy people. That's crazy people behavior. Like, what? These are horrible people. And I didn't care where their story was going. I don't care if how Heathcliff gets to be the curmudgeon he is now, because he's always been horrible. He's literally been rude since they brought him home. So like, what's the character arc here? Like, what changes? What's the point? what is ultimately the point of any of this book? And that, because I didn't finish it, I can't speak to like why schools feel the need to show this off. I again, I went back to the Spark Notes, and like, I don't know, like, what is the point? What is the benefit here to a teenager? And I also remember from my Jane Eyre review, I talked about how even though I like that book a lot, I don't think it should be taught in high schools anymore. It should be saved for college because of its historical value, but it's a little bit dense and maybe a difficult. It doesn't foster a love of reading in teenagers the way that something more modern would. The same goes for this. If you want to teach this one, I get it. It was different in the 18 whatevers to see transgressive characters like this that were so outwardly horrible to each other. But it's pretty commonplace now, and it has historical value. Teach it in a lit class in college, but in high school, I am 100% in agreement with my teenage self for not even attempting this book. I having read a little bit more than half of it for this project, I got nothing out of it, except now I have a frame of reference for who Heathcliff and Catherine are, and that's really it. I don't have a lot else to say about it. If you're a teacher who has taught this book, you try to explain to me in the comments, like, what is it about this that you think creates merit for a teenager today? Is it the incredibly dense language that's hard to follow? Is it the character Joseph, who speaks in an extremely like thick, what is it, Yorkshire accent or something, and it's completely unintelligible, and he has long monologues where he's giving important plot information, but you can't understand any of it? Is that good? Is that the good storytelling part? Like, what is it? What is it about Wuthering Heights that makes it worth teaching now to teenagers? So that's my question. If you're a high school teacher viewing this, please let me know in the comments. And if you've read it as an adult and you got something different from it, please let me know. I would love to hear your different opinion. It's just that it was very, very, very much not for me. I will be moving on to something else now. So that's all for my ramble. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. But now it's time to get back to reading.